The night sky was vast, its quiet darkness broken only by a crescent moon casting a pale light. I sought wisdom, troubled by thoughts that refused to cease, racing endlessly as if pursued by unseen fears. Buddha sat calmly beneath the Bodhi tree, his expression serene. Ananda, let your heart speak first. What burdens you most? Ananda sighed deeply, his voice trembling. He stood at the center, a figure of calm amidst chaos, radiating an aura of unshakable peace. Buddha, I said hesitantly, my voice breaking under the weight of my own turmoil. I am restless. My mind spins endlessly, and sleep evades me. The disciples shifted slightly, their gaze unwavering, fixed on Siddhartha's calm face. He motioned for me to sit, his gestures fluid, each one imbued with profound simplicity and grace. Tell me, the Buddha began, his voice steady as flowing water. What thoughts occupy your mind and disturb your rest? I hesitated, overwhelmed by the tenderness of his inquiry and the depth of my own confusion. I think of failure and success, sorrow and joy, all at once, I confessed. Each thought arrives like a storm, leaving only wreckage behind. The Buddha folded his hands, each movement deliberate, as if his actions held silent lessons of their own. The mind is like a turbulent river, swollen by the rains of fear and desire, he said calmly. You are not the river. You are the sky, vast and untouched, above its restless currents. I pondered his words, their meaning elusive yet resonating with truths I could not articulate. How? I asked, my voice trembling. Does one cease the storm and find peace within the chaos? Siddhartha smiled, his expression as calm as still water reflecting an unclouded sky. Do not seek to cease the storm, he replied. Instead, observe it as the sky watches the restless winds. His words were simple, yet their implications vast, like seeds planted in the fertile ground of my bewildered mind. What you resist persists, he continued. Acceptance is the path to freedom. Resistance only feeds the cycle of suffering. I closed my eyes, the act itself a challenge as my thoughts fought to assert their dominance. Guided by his presence, I began to observe each thought, detaching from its weight, as the Buddha instructed. Imagine each thought as a cloud, he said gently. Let it drift across your inner sky without judgment or attachment. At first, my mind resisted, the storm within me roaring like a caged beast. Master, what if the loss is too great, and the pain refuses to fade with time? The monk asked sincerely. The Buddha turned his gaze toward the young monk, his eyes filled with compassion and understanding. Each breath I took felt deeper, each moment stretched longer. As the restless currents slowed, peace is not the absence of storms, the Buddha said, breaking the silence that followed my meditation. It is the stillness found within their midst. His words landed like raindrops on parched earth, sinking into the depths of my being. The world around me seemed quieter, the cries of the night replaced by a profound stillness. As dawn approached, Siddhartha rose, his movements as natural and unhurried as the flow of time itself. Rest now, he said, his voice carrying the weight of ages and the promise of renewal. The sky within you is vast, and it holds the strength to weather any storm. I watched as he walked away, his footsteps light but leaving an indelible imprint on my soul. The disciples began to disperse, their silence a testament to the teachings they had witnessed. Master, is this boundlessness where enlightenment begins? Buddha's smile widened, his joy like sunlight peeking through clouds. Enlightenment begins with letting go, not just of answers, but of the need for them. The moonlight faded into the gentle embrace of dawn, marking not just the end of a restless night but the beginning of a new understanding. In that moment, I realized that the Buddha's teachings were not answers but invitations to deeper questions. His words, spoken with quiet conviction, were like lanterns illuminating a path I had to walk myself. The sky within me held both storms and calm, and I was learning to embrace them both. With this thought, I closed my eyes, not to escape but to awaken to the vastness within. Another day. Another journey through the bustling paths of life. Siddhartha Gautama arrived in a vibrant marketplace. Merchants called out, voices merging into a chaotic symphony of trade, aspirations, and urgency. Among them stood a tailor, his movements frantic, his mind seemingly racing with every stitch of his needle. I observed him closely, drawn by his visible restlessness, as though he carried the weight of unspoken fears and ambitions. Buddha, I said, pointing to the tailor. Why does he move with such haste, as if racing against unseen time? Siddhartha nodded slowly, his gaze steady as he approached the man, who barely noticed his presence. My friend, Buddha said gently, his voice cutting through the clamor like a calm breeze. What is it you chase with such fervor? The tailor paused, his hands trembling as he looked up, his eyes filled with exhaustion. I chase my dreams, he replied. I have customers to please, debts to settle, goals to achieve. There is no rest for me. Siddhartha placed a comforting hand on the man's shoulder, his touch radiating an inexplicable serenity. Dreams are like shadows, Buddha said, his tone serene. The harder you chase them, the more they elude your grasp. The tailor looked at him, confusion and curiosity flickering across his face, as if seeking hidden meaning. But I must work, the tailor said, his voice tinged with urgency. If I stop, I fear everything will collapse. Siddhartha smiled, the gesture filled with compassion, yet carrying a depth that seemed to transcend words. Work is noble, he said, but it should not consume the soul or enslave the heart. You are not your tasks. I listened intently, the exchange resonating with my own struggles and the relentless pace of modern life. The tailor lowered his gaze, his hands clutching the fabric as though holding on to his very existence. How can I slow my mind? He asked, his voice a quiet plea. Siddhartha gestured to the market well, where a lotus blossomed in serene contrast to the marketplace's chaos. Look at the lotus, Buddha said, unfazed by noise, unbothered by haste. It blooms in its own time, in its own way. The tailor turned his gaze to the flower, its delicate beauty seeming to whisper truths that words could not convey. What does it mean? The tailor asked softly, as if the answer already lingered within him. Siddhartha folded his hands, his movements deliberate, every gesture carrying a quiet dignity. The lotus teaches us patience, Buddha explained. It thrives in mud but remains unsullied, embodying grace amidst imperfection. The tailor's shoulders relaxed slightly, the tension ebbing as he absorbed Siddhartha's words, his needle momentarily at rest. But my thoughts, the tailor said, they race like horses, uncontrollable, each one pulling me in a different direction. Siddhartha closed his eyes briefly, his expression one of profound understanding, as though peering into the labyrinth of human struggle. Your thoughts are not you, he said. They are passing clouds. Observe them without attachment, and they will lose their power. The tailor took a deep breath, his body seeming to mirror the stillness that Siddhartha exuded effortlessly. But what if I fail? The tailor asked, his voice trembling as though voicing a fear buried deep within. Siddhartha opened his eyes, his gaze filled with an unshakable calm that seemed to envelop everyone around him. Failure, he said, is but a step on the path, a lesson cloaked in disguise. Embrace it, and it ceases to be fearsome. I watched as the tailor's demeanor transformed, the frantic energy that had consumed him giving way to a tentative calm. Is it truly possible, the tailor asked, to find peace in the midst of such chaos? Siddhartha smiled again, the simple act carrying a depth of compassion that words could scarcely capture. Peace, he said, is not the absence of chaos, but the quiet center within it, accessible to all who seek it. The tailor nodded slowly, his hands steadying as he resumed his work, his movements more deliberate, less hurried. Siddhartha turned to me, his expression as serene as the lotus by the well. "Do you understand now?" he asked gently, his words directed at both me and the tailor. "Rest is not found in the absence of action but in the stillness of the present moment." The marketplace seemed quieter somehow, the bustling noise fading into the background as Siddhartha's teachings lingered in the air. The tailor continued his work, but his pace was no longer driven by desperation, his mind no longer a battlefield. I felt a profound stillness within myself, a newfound clarity that mirrored the lotus blooming by the well. As the sun began its descent, casting golden hues over the marketplace, Siddhartha walked away, his presence leaving an indelible imprint on all who had witnessed his wisdom. The tailor looked up once more, his eyes meeting mine, a faint smile playing on his lips. "I think I understand now," he said, his voice softer, more reflective. "The race was always within me, and now I see a path to peace." I nodded, unable to find the words to express the depth of the moment, the transformation that had unfolded before us. Siddhartha's figure grew smaller in the distance, yet his teachings remained, an eternal echo in the chambers of our hearts. The marketplace resumed its rhythm, but something had shifted, an invisible thread connecting us to the timeless wisdom of the Buddha. I stood there, watching the lotus by the well, its beauty a silent testament to Siddhartha's words, a symbol of grace amidst the trials of existence. Another day, another gathering beneath the sprawling canopy of an ancient banyan tree. Siddhartha Gautama sat in meditative silence. His disciples surrounded him, their faces reflecting anticipation and reverence, eager to receive his wisdom. I joined them, my heart heavy with questions about the nature of rest and the meaning of true peace. The air was warm, carrying the faint scent of blossoms, and the sound of rustling leaves provided a soothing backdrop. "Buddha," I began, my voice breaking the gentle quiet, "how does one find rest when the world seems so restless?" Siddhartha opened his eyes, his gaze steady and calm, as if carrying the answers to questions unasked. "Rest," he said, "is not found by retreating from the world but by accepting its impermanence." His voice carried a weight that resonated deeply, each word unfolding a new layer of meaning. "But impermanence," I replied hesitantly, "brings sorrow. Knowing all things change makes me fear their eventual loss." Siddhartha smiled gently, his expression filled with an unwavering compassion that seemed to embrace my fears. "Sorrow arises," he said, "when attachment binds the heart, but freedom lies in embracing impermanence without resistance." The disciples listened intently, their faces thoughtful, as if reflecting on their own attachments and sorrows. "How can we let go?" I asked, the question trembling within me like a leaf on a fragile branch. Siddhartha gestured toward the earth beneath us, his movements deliberate, as though each one carried its own lesson. "The tree sheds its leaves without grieving their loss," he said. "It knows that life continues in cycles, not endings." I lowered my gaze, his words sinking deeply into the soil of my thoughts, planting seeds of understanding. "Buddha," another disciple asked, her voice soft but determined, "how do we surrender attachments and still find joy in life?" Siddhartha turned to her, his expression unchanged, but his gaze full of warmth and reassurance. "Joy," he said, "is found not in possession but in presence, not in holding but in witnessing each fleeting moment." The group fell silent, the weight of his words seeming to ripple through the space around us. I struggled to grasp the depth of his teachings, my mind racing with questions and doubts that seemed insurmountable. "But peace," I said, "feels so distant, so unreachable amidst the chaos of life and the fears of failure." Siddhartha leaned slightly forward, his posture reflecting an intent to reach me, not through answers but through presence. Peace, he said, is not the absence of chaos. It is the stillness found within. The center untouched by external storms, the disciples murmured in agreement, their voices merging into a harmony that seemed to echo the Buddha's teachings. Master, another asked, how do we nurture this stillness when the mind is constantly pulled in countless directions? Siddhartha closed his eyes briefly, his silence profound, as though forming an answer rooted in eternal truth. The mind, he said, is like water, restless when disturbed, but calm when left still. Quiet its ripples with breath and awareness. I focused on my breathing, following his guidance, attempting to quiet the ceaseless chatter within my own mind. Siddhartha observed me, his presence reassuring and constant, as though providing a silent anchor to my turmoil. Each thought, he said gently, is a passing cloud. Watch them drift by without judgment, without grasping, and the sky remains clear. His words felt like a balm, a soothing remedy for the restless thoughts that had consumed me. But Buddha, I asked again, unable to suppress the doubts that still lingered within. What if the storm returns? Siddhartha smiled again, his expression calm yet filled with immeasurable depth, carrying the strength to weather any storm. The storm will return, he said, but the sky remains. You are not the storm. You are the sky that holds it. I began to feel a profound quiet within, the endless racing thoughts giving way to moments of stillness and clarity. Master, I said, my voice softer now, how do we find the strength to hold this truth, even when life feels unbearable? Siddhartha turned his gaze to the horizon, his movements deliberate, his focus unwavering, as though speaking to the world itself. Strength is found not in resistance, he said, but in surrender. Not in holding on but in letting go with grace. The banyan tree seemed to hum with his wisdom. Its branches stretched wide as if embracing every word he spoke. The disciples nodded, their faces reflecting their own inner journeys, their struggles, and their awakenings. Buddha's teachings resonated, echoing in the grove as they prepared to move forward. Ananda stepped closer to Buddha, his voice softer. The group closed their eyes, the quiet growing deeper, the stillness expanding like ripples on a calm lake. I felt the weight of my fears and attachments begin to lift, replaced by an understanding that felt both foreign and familiar. When the meditation ended, Siddhartha rose slowly, his movements fluid and unhurried, reflecting the timeless grace of his teachings. Buddha, I said finally, my voice steady now, thank you for guiding me toward peace, toward rest. Siddhartha turned to me, his gaze filled with unspoken wisdom, his smile a quiet acknowledgement of my words. He walked away then, his figure blending into the horizon, leaving behind not just his disciples but the echo of his wisdom. I sat there beneath the banyan tree, the sound of rustling leaves carrying his teachings, his truths, into the depths of my soul. The world continued its rhythm, but my heart had found a quieter center, a place of peace within the chaos. Ananda spoke softly, Master, storms trouble me deeply. I remained under the banyan tree, listening to the quiet night, embracing the stillness within me, and understanding for the first time what true rest meant. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.